Hey folks, Kilt-Man here. Kilt-Man at your services. How are you all? I hope you're all doing very, very well. Now, in the UK right now, we are basking in incredible, record-breaking heat wave. It's the 1st of May today, and it's already, the temperature is, since records began, we've gone past it all. Yesterday was even hotter again. So, happy days. Anyway, in the first of what's going to be like possibly a very random, sporadic sort of series of videos, we're going to look at mission music. Mission music, you say, Kilt-Man? Huh. Huh? In movies, the exciting music the composer produces for a build-up to an action scene, or it may even be the action scene itself, but it's a mission in progress. I've done it before. I've done this sort of thing way back, and I think it's time to bring it back, to be honest. So we're going to start off with a perennial favourite of many of us, the Delta Force, Chuck Norris. Yeah, Canon Films, Menahem Globus, and no, hang on, let's get the names right. Menahem Golan and Yoram Globus. Those two entrepreneurs of action and Uzis and grenades and lots of explosions and one-man heroes. Yes, they did it all. And the thing about this movie, The Delta Force, 1986, directed by Menahem Globus, Golan. I'll never get these two names right. Menahem Golan directed it and produced it with Yoram Globus. It was a retaliation to what happened the year before when Transworld Airlines Flight 847, I used to know all these details, now I've got to look at notes, was hijacked on the way back from Greece with a lot of passengers on board, some of whom were Jewish, some of whom were American servicemen. Oh yes, and this is what happened. And for 17 days, I think it was, they released the women and the kids, they released some passengers, but they went from Algiers to Beirut to Algiers to Beirut. They crisscrossed it again and again and again, trying to get their demands met. They were Hezbollah terrorists, Hezbollah, and who were still going strong today. And they got on board with stowed away weapons and that, like, and grenades, took the plane and demanded a first, I think it was like 460 Shiite fundamentalists to be released from Israeli prisons. Refused. That number went up to, they wanted 770 or something like that. It went up and up and up. And throughout the duration, which was heavily broadcast on TV at the time, a lot of you guys probably weren't around or were watching anything like this at that time, but I was glued to it. The captain of the plane was famously broadcast pulling back one of the cockpit windows to talk to the press with a 9mm Browning high power press against his head. But some nasty things happened on this. But this story, this incident, inspired the film The Delta Force with Chuck Norris. Chuck Norris! Chuck Indestructible Norris was there as a Delta Force operator. Delta Force, Special Operations Detachment Delta, was created by Colonel Charles Beckwith. And why he did this, he came to serve and train alongside the British SAS, and he was enamoured by, well, their covert tactics and their stealth and their sheer brilliance, but especially by their counter-terrorism team. We need this back in the US, so I'm going to take a wing of the military and I'm going to create our own version of the SAS, which is Special Operations Detachment Delta, aka the Delta Force. Highly, recognised now, but their first operation, Tehran, the student hostages in Tehran, a massive, under Jimmy Carter, a massive clusterfuck. I've talked about it before many times. CH-30s were colliding in midair, resulting in the deaths of many Delta Force operators and pilots and aircrew. And the Ayatollah Khomeini gloated over the burnt, charred bodies. Their first operation was an absolute disaster. They've had many more since. They've proved themselves time and time again. I've talked about them many, many times. But The Delta Force is a film which is based, and you can't even say loosely, even though Chuck Norris is in there, who kills millions of ragheads, even though he's in there, a lot of the facts, a lot of the things you see in this movie are what really happened, albeit with different names and maybe different airports and what have you, and added excitement and adventure. And the fact that Delta Force was not involved in the actual operation to begin with, because there was no operation. Well, there was plans, but it never happened. By the way, you're not hearing the music to Delta Force right now. You're hearing Jerry Goldsmith's score to the glorious James Garner Western from the late 60s, One Little Indian. Wonderful. It's a camel in the Wild West. It's a wonderful, wonderful movie. Cheers, y'all. Is it 60s? I think it's 70s actually, but it's a great film. Anyway, but mission music. So my point is, we'll talk about the movie. We'll talk about, especially in this case, the real life incident that inspired it. And we're going to talk about the music itself. And we're going to play the music. So let's get on the music, shall we, Kilt-Man? Yeah, let's do that. Let's do that. Delta Force. Come on, Kilty. It begins with D. It's not hard to find. Right. Okay, I'm going to turn it down for the time being. It has a very famous score. A very famous title theme. All played on the Synclavier. Electronic music. Alan Silvestri, the composer, had done this many times before and would do it many times afterwards as well. No, I'm going to turn it up. I turned it down way too far. It's a pulsating, rhythmic, patriotic, jingoistic, saber-rattling main theme of pure heroism. And it's outstanding. It's very upbeat. You've got drum machine there, drum pads, and you've got all the synth-laden textures, all added to. But as everyone says, Alan Silvestri would use his synthesized electronica like a full orchestra. He would bring elements in, and he worked it out with his. I didn't write down the guy that worked with him, but anyway, he had a great collaborator. But this score, it's so electrifyingly gorgeous and adrenalized. Chuck Norris can't lose. They're riding these dune buggies with 50 caliber machine guns mounted on them, which they are in existence, but they ride these dirt bikes with 9mm submachine guns mounted on the handlebars, which I don't know how you can direct that apart from turn the handlebars that way or that way. Rocket launchers on the front and mortars on the back, all of which get used. It's pure Q branch stuff, but they do use all this kind of equipment. Dirt buggies, dirt bikes, dune buggies. Lots of sort of put together, customized vehicles to do certain operations, certain jobs. And the film is just pure excitement, but it's a big build-up. It's like it's part disaster movie. You've even got the great Shelley Winters in there, who's in almost every disaster movie from the 60s and the 70s. And she's in this as well, when the vicious Hezbollah terrorists get on board and segregate anyone who's got a Jewish sounding name to one side or one cabin, and American military personnel who were on board. And this is what we're going to get to, folks, because this is the true element. The film Delta Force is massively adapted from what really happened only a year before. Now, why did they do this? Why? Well, there was American shame involved in this. They lost one of theirs viciously, horribly. I'll talk about this. And they were powerless to intervene. And when the murderer of that particular serviceman was actually caught, they promised all sorts to the family and to the American public, and none of that was delivered. None of it. He wasn't brought to justice. He wasn't. Well, we'll come on to all this. But why did they do this movie and give it to Chuck Norris? Only a few years before, in 1980, we had the Iranian embassy siege in Prince's Gate in London. They seized hold of Libyan terrorists, seized hold of the Iranian embassy, with press journalists in there, a policeman was in there. The SAS went in, famously broadcast on live TV. Flashbangs, abseiling. The man with no gloves was in there. Rusty Fairman was in there. They got in, they killed the terrorists. There was one person had been actually executed by them, which was right, go now, you're going in, that's it. It's no longer police civil action, it's now a military operation. Hand it over to you guys, go in there, kill them. And they did. And it was celebrated, it was a massive, British euphoria. In fact, euphoria for around the world for like fighting against terrorism, And we don't stand for this. We will not stand for this. We're going to kill you. You fuck with us, we're going to kill you. And we're going to look scarier and more intimidating than you could ever possibly dream yourselves to be. Well, that was then. It's not what happens now. But in the aftermath of the Prince's Gate, the embassy siege, the SAS going in, Ewan Lloyd made the film Who Dares Wins. You can see the poster for it over there. Who Dares Wins, with Lewis Collins, the great Lewis Collins, who's a neighbour of one of my earlier girlfriends. Seriously, I've said this before, down in Morton, he lived next door to a girl I used to go out with. Anyway, Lewis Collins of Professionals. Lewis Collins, who went for the territorial SAS and was brilliant and passed, but they said, look, you're too high profile, you can't stay with us. So it didn't work out, his career did not work out military wise, although he wanted it. And they made the film Who Dares Wins about the US Embassy and terrorists, the People's Liberation Front, or whatever the hell they're called, they want to launch nuclear missiles on Scottish locks, and to warn the world about what one nuclear device can do. But they're going to kill, if they don't get, the demands aren't met, they're going to kill all the US Embassy staff and the visiting dignitaries, senators, governors, and high-ranking, military officials. But the SAS go in there, and it is literally, Ewan Lloyd went, my God, the Iranian embassy siege, that's movie making gold. Let's make this movie. We'll base it around that, but different characters, different story, different location, but it's based on what we saw there. That's what he does, and it's genius. Apart from the two guys hanging under the helicopter who get flown, and they managed to make them strategically go straight through the top windows without smacking him into a wall. It's ridiculous. But having said that, that ends Siege. We will talk more about Who Dares Wins, because that's going to feature in this series as well. That final sequence is brilliant. It's a long time coming, but the build-up is tremendous. And when you see the SAS going in there, it's fucking amazing. But apart from those two guys swinging there, do you know who did all of the abseiling and the helicopter flying? SAS. All of them. They trained stuntmen and actors to go alongside the SAS. Learn the ropes from these. Literally, to learn the ropes. And then the SAS was like, hang on, look. We can do this, without any rehearsals. We can just do it straight away. So do you want us to? We can do it. So in the film, when you see all these black-clad commandos abseiling down, fast roping down from the helicopters, running across the roof and the parapets, and then abseiling down each side of the building, going in, That's genuine SAS guys doing that. So anyway, that's Who Dares Wins. So Golden Globus and Cannon Films thinks, right, well they made that film and that was dead successful. And it was just literally made literally a year after the incident at the Iranian embassy. We just had this TWA flight 847. Yes, I got it right. The year before. Chuck Norris is a big action star. Let's put him in a big ensemble cast. Martin Balsam, Lee Marvin, Lee fucking Marvin playing his commander. Robert Forster playing Abdul, the Hezbollah terrorist who gets in it. They're not called Hezbollah in the movie, they're called something else. But the real life terrorists were Hezbollah. It's interesting to note that Hezbollah, to this day, still deny that they were behind this. Tehran's behind all of it, but Hezbollah said that always denied, no, those guys, they weren't part of us. But they're confirmed, they were known Hezbollah, activists and players. So they were Hezbollah. So Golden Globus and Cannon Films thinks, right, we can make a movie out of this, we can do it while it's in the public consciousness, but we're going to change some details, obviously the flight number, and maybe where they are and who the terrorist group is, and we're going to put more action in it, and we're going to show like that the US wasn't powerless and impotent, which the US sadly were at this time. Important to note that the US in reality was sort of semi-prepared to go in and do something, but the order was never given. It was never sanctioned, so it just didn't happen. So, in the film, you have a different flight. I've forgotten now. I didn't write that down. Captain, the great Bo Svensson. Bo Svensson, it plays the captain, and he looks like the real-life captain of the original flight. The one who's seen in the cockpit window with a gun to his head. In reality, they did separate and release a lot of prisoners, a lot of hostages, I should say, sorry. But they kept the Americans and the Jewish on board, and they did one horrific murder took place, which we're going to talk about. But the whole point of this series of videos is going to be like mission music. How the composer comes up with a suspenseful action score to maybe a protracted sequence, a set piece of suspense, apprehension, dread, and then operation, action, let's go, 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 go. And this is one of the best. But the thing about the track I'm going to play for you, the track I'm highlighting here, it's called Algiers. In the film, in reality, the real life plane did land at Algiers airport, and they went to Beirut and Algiers, and it flip-flopped all over the place. And but we'll talk about what actually happened in the film. A lot of stuff takes place, and Delta Force in this particular sequence at Algiers, they're dressed up as like a ground maintenance, a fuel crew. They've got all trucks and things. They've got all dish dash and stuff and the Arab robes around them. But they're armed to the teeth. They're just waiting for the go ahead. Let's go, go, go. Take them down. And you get that, but it's brilliant because it pulls the rug from under you because they fail big time. He says, pointing to note is that the film starts off with the that fiasco, the Tehran complete clusterfuck with the C-130s crashing into one another, and like a Delta Force disaster. The film starts with that, and you get like Scott McCoy, that's Chuck Norris, saying to Colonel Nick Alexander, Lee Marvin, that's it, what went wrong? Nick, what went wrong? I don't know, it's not us, it's the politicians, it all went wrong. I don't know, I forgot what he says. He's like, that's it, I'm resigning when I get back. I've nothing to do with this. And they bring Chuck Norris's Major Scott McCoy out of retirement because of this particular situation. So, on board that plane in the movie, you've got 3 American Marines, right, who get sussed out because of their ID cards and all that. So they're obviously, that's wrong. There is a track on this called First Class, which is really cheesy, and you don't need it at all. that was horrible. You want action. And one guy in particular, when they've already beaten him up, and at Algiers, they want fuel to take off again, and they're being denied this by the tower. And so you've got like the Delta Force are there, all in disguise. We're going to move in. We can take this plane when it's on the ground. Let's do this. And so they're all there. Chuck's there. They're using mini Uzis. Why? It's not a mini Uzi. It looks enough like one for now. That's the M11 Mach 10 spin-off. And but mini Uzis, and of course Chuck Norris used mini Uzis in many movies. Many Uzis in many movies. But why were they using them in this particular movie? Because they filmed the entire film in Israel. Israel is the land of the Uzi. They were created by a guy, an Israeli from obviously Israel. So the armourer there just gave them shed loads of Uzis. Just use these. In reality, folks, the Uzi was used in Vietnam and many other conflicts. American forces have used the Uzi a lot. Delta Force, I can guarantee you, have Uzis in their arsenal. But would they have used them in this particular incident? It's again a room clearance weapon. It's a bit more accurate than the Ingram. The Ingram is definitely just spray. It's gone within a nanosecond. It's gone. An Uzi, you can actually aim an Uzi and fire it. You've got the big Uzi, you've got the mini Uzi, which is in this movie, and you've got a micro Uzi, which is even that is ultra powerful. So the Uzi has 1,000,001 different uses. But anyway, that's what they're using. So they're all there and they're waiting to go in. They're waiting for the command to go, take them down. Now, on board the plane, you've got a German stewardess, and she's real. There's an actual film about this entire real life incident. And in the film, she's played by Hannah Scheigler, who's gorgeous, and it was in many movies. And she plays the German stewardess, who in reality was grabbed by the hair and beaten so they could get access to the cockpit during the initial takeover. And she was asked, right, I want you to find all the Jewish people on board. And in the film, she makes a big point of going like, I can't do that because I'm German. How can I do that? And in reality, that's what she did, and she fought against revealing the identity of any Jewish person. But they got the passports and they found them anyway. So anyone who sounded Jewish, right, you're separated. Not a good day, that. And they also found a team of American Navy divers. These guys are the CBs. They are construction builders. They're a Navy wing, and what they do, they repair ships, they repair oil rig struts, they go underwater. They're absolute first class divers, but they can do engineering, and they've been out there on a job in Greece, in reality, and we're doing a job out there. I'm going to cross-cut this with like the real life stuff and what happened in the movie. But let's focus now on the Algiers sequence, where they're all prepped and ready to go. Because what happens is, let's get on it now, let's just do it. Listen to this. You've got that beat. You've had beatings and trouble. Delta Force are ready to go. Chuck's there. His beard, a bit of a mullet going on. Fucking boss. Mini Uzis. They're waiting to go. They're hiding behind fuel trucks. They're in other trucks, ambulances and what have you. The plane is there, waiting for our fuel, in communication with the tower. But they've beaten this American Marine up quite badly. He's been beaten several times. And even Hannah Scheigler, the German stewardess, is going like, leave him. He's almost dead, leave him. And he's just like, oh, he's all done in. But they fucking grab him. Anyway, we're leaping ahead here. But these guys are waiting to go. So you've got Scott McCoy, Chuck Norris is going like, Nick to Lee Marvin. Nick, have we got to go ahead yet? Are we ready to go? Come on now, come on. Let's not screw this one up, Nick. Come on, after Operation Eagle Claw, which was the Tehran disaster. And so they're still waiting for word. And then you do get the great Robert Vaughn as General, whoever it is, does give the command, Nick, it's a go. Take him down. So like Lee Marvin just goes like Scott, it's a go. Take him down. So you got. I'm shivering. Chuck Norris is there going like the mini Uzi. Looks like I'm holding it there. That's a super mini Uzi there, isn't it? And he goes like, right, you ready? We're going. 60 seconds. Mark. So you've got the great Steve James, the big black dude from many movies, hulking, muscle-bound dude in so many movies. The Exterminator. Fantastic. And he goes 60 seconds, Mark. And you get Peterson, who's their Bezzy mate, a young rookie, not rookie, but he's dead gung-ho and jingoistic. 60 seconds, Mark. And they're all waiting. And then, because they've disembarked a lot of hostages there and kept the men on board, the Marines, the Americans, and the Jewish, kept them all, but the women and kids come off. And Hannah Scheigler, the German stewardess, the real life stewardess, comes off board. And they go to like Lee Marvin. They go like, look, here's the purser, the plane stewardess. She can talk to you. She can tell you who's on board, how many's there, and where they are. Right, you guys clear the room. Just a few words now. We're gonna go in there now. But can you tell me where they all are? And she goes, oh no. You can't go in. Why not? Because they'll kill all the other hostages. And he goes, what hostages? The ones they took off in Beirut. And he's like, what? When the other terrorists came on board? And he's going like, what other terrorists? All the men with weapons who came on board in Beirut. The plane's been flip-flopping between airports. And he goes like, shit, because they only think there's 2 terrorists on board, which in reality there was 2 terrorists on board. I think others did get on board at one of the landings, but there was 2 initially. So in reality, so he's like, shit, and they've done the cardinal sin, which you don't actually do, but they do it in the movie for movie's narrative's sake. Chuck Norris goes like, 60 seconds, Mark, we're going, and there, but radio silence from now on. So like, Lee Marvin can't get in touch with him to say, abort, abort. So he gets in the Jeep, put the lights on, put the sirens on, and he goes screaming down towards this fucking plane along the tarmac. Woo, 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 woo. He's going, abort, abort. And like, Chuck Norris is going like, what the fucking hell? So these bastards on board, who've beaten this Marine to a pulp, they realise, and they fire shots at the fuel truck, which Chuck Norris is hiding behind, and he fucking legs it. And they go, what the fuck's going wrong? And they bring out the Marine. And Robert Forster, the great Robert Forster, Alligator, the Black Hole, playing a fucking raghead terrorist. God damn him to hell. And he's good at it as well. Shoots him, and he threw the body out of the plane. Poof, hits the tarmac. Oh, it's horrible. The dummy, obviously, but it's sickening. And if you watch the film, as the plane taxis away, because he ordered the pilots, right, fucking fly back to Beirut, fly now, do it now. And they're going like, all right, come on now. Calm down, lads, as you watch it, the dummy's on the deck, and you're seeing these great big fucking plane wheels, and you're going, they're not going to go over that, are they? They don't. Listen to this. I'll play this again and go through the music properly, but I wanted to talk about the movie sequence, and in particular, what happened for real. So you had that Delta Force Silvestri main theme was in there, but with that Marshall drum, the snare, the drum pad snare option, and it was like getting you going, you know. And now it turns into a Middle Eastern sort of snare, like almost like, you know, the call to prayers and all that. And he does it brilliantly because the whole thing has shifted. Delta Force did not win the moment, and in fact they brought on the death of this guy, a Marine, and the plane's gone off. And he goes, what the hell happened, Nick? He goes, oh, you know, there was more terrorists. They took off half the hostages. They're all over Beirut by now. And if you'd have gone on there, it'd have been a bloodbath. You'd all have been killed. There's way more on there than you expected. He was like, what do we do now? We go after them. Which they do go after them. But we'll talk more about that. But this sequence is electrifying. Silvestri has this fucking awesome. I've always talked about like earphones in and strutting around the Kilted realm or any other hostile territory. I don't care, you know, in the kilt, in the vest, and I've got stuff like this playing. I'll fucking cut through gangs of scallies, fucking all sorts, because I don't give no shits. No fucks are given here. But listen to this. So you've got a Marshall drum snare beat, but listen how it's turned into a Middle Eastern flavour, and you'll get like this sort of like wailing element. It's a really exciting sequence, and even when you watch it now, you know how it's going to pan out. They're going to win eventually, of course. Listen to this. It's took on a Middle Eastern, an Islamic slant. Right, in reality, what happened? During the initial takeover, there were several US Navy divers. I said before, the CBs, Construction Battalion, that's what they're from. That's why it's called CBs. It's written as SEABEES, CBs, but it's letter C, B, from Construction Battalion. I think First Troop or something like that. And 23-year-old Robert Dean Stetham, whose brother was a US Navy SEAL, and his other brother was in the same battalion as him, had been out to Greece to do a particular repair job. His two brothers weren't with him, but he was with Team 1, and they were out there, and they're on their way back. So they come back from Greece when the real flight took off. And during the initial terrorist takeover, by some accounts, but not by all, it's not massively confirmed, but it does stand to reason with what happened afterwards. He is meant to, he's only 23 years old, rose up and tried to intervene with the takeover. 2 terrorists there with Mills bombs and Browning high powers, and was subjugated. And then he was singled out for beating over the whole ordeal lasted 17 days. He didn't last that long, sadly, and he was beaten several times. Other passengers were beaten as well. Some of the Jewish passengers were beaten. The other American divers were beaten as well. But he was singled out for repeated sessions. And on that day in the Beirut airport, they demanded to be, when they first made their demands, it was for 450 Shiite prisoners held in Israeli prisons to be released, which was refused straight away. That number went up to like 770 or something like that. Well, if you won't give us that many, we want even more. Well, no, we ain't doing it. So at Beirut, they demanded more fuel to go off back to probably Algiers, and they were flying from here to there to everywhere again, just crisscrossing all the time. And they refused. So they grabbed Robert Stethem and already beaten up, dragged him to the front of the plane, and in front of all the other hostages, beat him relentlessly. They tied him with the elastic cords from baggage so tight that his hands went numb, and beat him, pistol whipped him, punched and kicked him with a transmitter, a radio transmitter, so that the tower could hear him, and they wanted the tower to hear him scream and plead for mercy and plead for them to give him fuel, and he refused. He endured the entire ordeal, which went on for ages. One of the terrorists jumped on his chest and broke his ribs. When he passed out, he was dragged back to his seat, and a comrade of his actually tried to feed him. And then later on, a few hours went by, and in the early hours of the morning, they dragged him back again, did it all over again. They ripped off, and in the film, you do see this, they rip off the upholstered armrest of one of the chairs, whoosh, but underneath it, it's got like big steel screws, and they hit him with the screw side of it. He still wouldn't give in. He's probably passed out. He's in a world of hurt, but he's not giving in to them. So in rage, one of the terrorists, I've got his name as well, somewhere here. No, I haven't. I have not got his name. I did not write it down. Damn it. He puts a gun to the back of Robert Stethem's head and shoots him behind the right ear, and the bullet goes through the other side. Doesn't kill him. So they stand him up, and you see it in the movie. In the movie, he gets shot through here, and they put the body off. In reality, they just chucked him out of the plane. Bump, hits the tarmac. That's quite some drop he's gone through there. Some reports say bullets were fired into him from the plane as they were moved away. I don't know if that's true or not. I don't think so. But what is true is this: he lay on the tarmac alive for 10 more minutes, beaten to a pulp. Ribs are broken, arms are broken, hands are shattered. His face is mangled. He's been shot through the head. Alive for 10 more minutes. When the authorities got to him, he couldn't be identified. His face and body were so mangled. Fingerprints is how they found out who he was. Fucking atrocious. Genuinely atrocious. His brother, the Navy SEAL, made a campaign because the guy who was the one who murdered him, the one who put the bullet through him and threw him out, whose name I didn't write down, I should have done, was arrested, was caught years afterwards, and the US federal government said, like, well, that's it, he's going to serve a lifetime sentence in a West German prison, and if he ever gets out of there, we're going to extradite him and bring him back to the US. They never did it. He served a few years and got parole. So Robert Stethem's brother fought valiantly against the federal system. You didn't do this, you didn't do that, you promised us this, you promised us that, and you reneged on every single thing. He said, I'm a Navy SEAL. I've read all the transcripts. He said, I'm a Navy SEAL. He said, I've seen and fought against terrorism. I know people who've been captured and tortured. I know what people go through. I know how they face death. But people like this, who just got on a plane And it isn't just servicemen who kind of may, whatever conflict they're involved in, and especially in today's world, it's one of those perhaps possibilities you're going to end up like that. Lee Rigby, down in London, Woolwich, gets hit by a car driven by two Islamic fucking twats, slammed into, still alive, dragged into the street, knifed, semi-disemboweled and semi-decapitated as well, in front of public, kids, all sorts, while our police hid down the road behind garden walls without acting, while civilians, a girl guide leader, a religious leader and other members of the public, mainly women, intervened while they're cutting him up to try to stop them, and the police did nothing. So what Robert Stedham's brother did, he said, look, you promised us, the family, he is a hero. He got elevated in rank posthumously to another high-ranking grade. Well, he's dead, but it's just a token of respect. He's buried at Arlington, next to Marines who were killed in another embassy attack just only months prior to this. And but the recognition his family deserved and what he deserved was kind of forgotten about. It's just, oh god, shit, that was a bad moment for us. We couldn't intervene, we didn't do anything, and we didn't get the guy back who did it, as we promised we would do. So his brother has fought valiantly for justice there. Once again, troops put in this particular situation, it's one thing being on the front line or going behind enemy lines and being captured, and then because depending on what unit you're in, this is going to be something you may have to face. So it's one of those, it's going to happen. We're all big boys, we know what could happen, so we're going to fight even more. But you know what to do once you're in that situation as well, and in the knowledge that the boys back home are going to try to get you back. However, it doesn't always work that way. No, it doesn't. And sometimes you're made a scapegoat. But anyway, so the reality of this movie is actually really, really horrific. That beating he took, although the transmitters there, they want him to plead to the tower. You smashed his teeth out, his tongue's useless, his jaw's broken. What do you expect him to say? Just to gurgle? Other hostages remember him when he held him up he was still alive, or he lived for another 10 minutes, shot, moaning, groaning, and they threw him out, and you had to watch that. The pilot of that plane said that was the bravest man he's ever encountered, and because he didn't give in to them at all. However, some reports say that they heard screams. These are people probably at the back of the plane in a different compartment, and the screams they would have heard would have been from the people who were witnessing it, not him, because he didn't give in to them at all. He did not give in to them. So the film does show this, and I was a bit surprised because the real life incident was heavily broadcast on TV at the time. I know a lot of people might not know about this, but it was massively broadcast. It was the news every single day. It was the major headline for 17 days, and that execution was it stunned everybody. It frightened everybody. I will say something else. At that time as well in Beirut, the US Marine Corps was heavily entrenched there. I forget who it is now. I've told this story before. A US soldier. I always think of him as being a general, someone high. He wasn't. He was abducted by Hezbollah and was skinned alive after about 3 or 4 weeks of incarceration and ransom demands and all that, which they weren't going to give in to. They skinned him alive, and they sent the US authorities 6 3-hour videotapes of him being skinned alive and then executed, because just to brighten the day. People who know how to skin people alive, and you can do it quickly. like peeling a banana. There's certain incisions you can make, and you can peel a human like a banana. Doesn't mean you're gonna die, or you're gonna bleed out, but depends how they do it. Some of these guys are like fucking scientists. They're mystic, carnage artists. They can let you live. African tribes used to do this, skin people alive, and then set them out into the desert, under the scorching sun. Can you imagine that? Your skin burns, but imagine no skin protection. It's just all your arteries and your veins and all the epidermis at the top one is that I forget. But imagine all the raw skin scorched alive. Fucking frightening, isn't it? But with the guy from Beirut, the US soldier, they took their time doing it to show him suffering. 6 3-hour-long VHS tapes. Fucking hell, but you can be under no illusion if you go out into the Middle East or you go into any enclave. Usually you have people who are fundamentalist, extremist, and usually one particular ideology, and you know of which I speak. They do the most barbaric things and enjoy it as well. So Paul Robert Dean Stephan, US Navy diver, construction diver, was beaten to a pulp in front of all the hostages, so they could see, oh, we're going to do this to him, you could be next. The other Navy divers, part of his team, were beaten as well, but not to his degree. But he was singled out, and this has got to be true. That's why they picked on him, because he did retaliate in the first, when they first tried to take over the plane. He did step up and do something. So like, oh, we're gonna fucking have you, and my God, they did. But in the film, Chuck Norris is there, and he can't save the guy. And the guy, he's got a different name, but it's clearly modelled on what really happened. This is the main title. This is the initial Operation Eagle Claw at Tehran, where it all went fucking horribly wrong. But you get all this tension building. You got one of the Delta Force guys is trapped under wreckage. The helicopter's on fire, and Chuck Norris comes in and manages to lift, in the flames, lift this piece of metal off him, and then carry him to safety. And the main title, Silvestri's main title, would kick in. I'm going to turn up even more. I have done a video on this music before, but I didn't go into any depth about the movie or the reality of what really happened, It was just like, let's enjoy the music. And that's what this series will be about. Enjoy. But I'll give you backgrounds to it as well, where I can. Layers of synth. The Synclavier has this gorgeous sound, pure 80s, used a lot in scores. The high ends glisten. There's a fat sound to the percussion, the drums, and that piano sounds great. It does sound like a piano. It is one of the most jingoistic main themes going. Pure heroism. Chuck. How can you not love this? And of course, the entire score will bring this in several permutations. It'll go from like jangly suspense to suddenly a full ebullient burst of this. Fucking dirt bikes, rocket launchers on them, little machine guns. You can't target that. I wish it were true. I wish it were true. You've got to keep, one eye on the road. You've got to be sure what's behind you. How are you going to aim and target these things? It's not like fucking, what's it called? You have Knight Rider. What the hell was the bike? Speed Rider. No. Forgotten. Street Hawk. I know you're all shouting at me. Street Hawk, Kilt-Man. You've played the music from Tangerine Dream many times. You've talked about it many times. I know. But the synapses in the brain aren't working quite as sharply as they once did, Right. We will go back onto Algiers because that's the point of this video. They lose at Algiers. This Marine gets killed. They then do some sort of covert operations in Beirut with a Jewish priest who's got a secret radio complex who's monitoring Hezbollah. Well, it's not Hezbollah. Whatever this party of terrorists are called. And they release women and children, but they've got a lot of the Jewish guys and other hostages are in a separate location in Beirut. But some guys are still on the plane, as in the crew are still on the plane. So we've got we've got to rescue the plane and the crew, and we've got to rescue the hostages. So we've got to split our forces. So you get like a huge sort of en masse attack of Delta Force. They wouldn't operate like that, by the way. That's not how they would do it. But in the film it's great. And they're all like, little fucking noddy hats, black combat gear. They've got the flag the wrong way around. The Americans wear the stars and bars the other way around when they go into combat. So the flag is flying backwards, because you're going into combat. So you don't see it the normal way around, if you know what I mean. And in this film, they do show it the normal way around. But it looks great on the black combat gear. Stars and bars, it's fucking boss. It does. See, this is still hopeful. 60 seconds, Mark. 60 seconds, Mark, yeah. Radio silence. And even when you watch it now, you're still waiting, you're gonna storm the plane. Storming planes, it's very, very bad. Another reason why they say that the real life Robert Statham held out for so long, keep the plane on the ground for a ground assault. I don't think, in all honesty, I don't think he thought like that. He'd been beaten to a pulp. I don't think he was thinking that way. At most he's thinking, I'm not giving in to you guys. I'm not going to do what you want me to do. I don't think he was thinking long term. I don't think he thought he was going to be rescued at all. He just weren't going to give in. But yeah, storming a plane on the ground, not easy. Storming a train, not easy. Not meant to be easy, is it? That's the whole point of holding hostages in an enclosed environment like that, where you can cover every door, every exit, every window. And if people start coming in, you just turn the guns on the hostages. So you've got to be absolutely fucking super quick to go in there and do it. You've got to know how those doors operate. Handles go this way, go that way. Are those windows reinforced with whatever, do they open? Can we obscure the windows so they can't see out of them? Can we do this? Can we blow through the roof? Can we come up underneath? Attack, coordinate from each, the top, the bottom, either end. Planes are by far the worst. Isn't it great? It's in earnest, isn't it? Pure mission music, adrenaline, you can feel it. I can fucking feel it myself. Not just for me to go back to the pub, you know. You got to keep all that in check as well, like your rage. Rage plays a part, but it's got to be just do the job, just function. Get in that door, get up those stairs, do this. See who's there, bang bang, bang bang, bang bang bang. You, hostage, shut the fuck up, get on the deck, stay there, don't fucking move. You treat them just as roughly. You have to. You don't want one of them running around as well, like, and then getting killed by yourself, you know. Getting in the way of gunfire. Exciting though. Yeah, just another way it turns into like they've lost momentum and the terrorists have gained the upper hand. Like, you got Chuck. He's hardly the most emotive of people, is he? Like, but gotta love Chuck Norris. I fucking adore the guy. His biggest film by far is this. Not his best. Everyone goes, oh, it's his best film. It's not his best film. Look at Lone Wolf McQuade. Look at Silent Rage. You know, look at Code of Silence. You know, he may own this film, but he's part of an ensemble cast. Once they get to Beirut and they get the other hostages and they're firing fucking blowpipes, him and Lee Marvin. Which Lee Marvin's great. We'll talk about him in a second. And then you get like the road to Damascus, the Damascus Road, where they're ferrying the US Marine, the remaining US Marines and other prisoners, and Lee Marvin leads an assault on the plane itself, cotton fields, and silenced weapons and all that, and take them out, which is great, and take the plane, and then you know the big battle on Damascus Road. The dune buggies and the bikes are woo! They're firing fucking rockets and all shit's taking place. Chuck leaps on the side of a truck. Chuck on the side of a truck, and he's like trying to get the driver, and it's going bang! And like Chuck's like, oh, you don't elbow Chuck in the face. His face hits your elbow and then bites it off. And it bangs the fucking guy out, and the two of them roll on the deck, beating each other up, and he fucking takes him. Robert Forster makes a getaway. Robert Forster, who's Abdul, the big bad guy, some abandoned house, and Chuck gets in there, fucking drives his bike through the windows, and beats the living shit out of Robert Forster. Breaks his arms, his fucking legs, fucking chins him, fucking whips him, bang, 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 makes a fool out of him. And then he manages to get up, bloodied all over the place, gets his AK, where is he? Runs out to his car, and like Chuck's just over there on his dirt bike with all the rockets and mortars, and Robert Forster's like that, gets his AK out, gonna ping off a few rounds, and Chuck just looks over his shoulder and just goes, clicks a switch, fucking mortars go off and blow the motherfuckers to bits. Like, it's genius. And then he gets to the airport at the end, and of course the plane's taxiing away, and they're going, flight 247 or whatever it is, flight 247, what are you doing? And he goes, Beirut Airport, we want to thank you for a lovely stay, but now we're bugging out of here, ta-ra! And he got all like fucking, because of the huge, I keep wanting to say Hezbollah, they're not Hezbollah, but they are Lebanese fundamentalist terrorists, an army who are descending on the plane, and then like, and the copy crew are going like, they're firing at us. And they're going like, oh shit. So you got Delta Force on board, all the hostages have been rescued, they're on board as well. But and you got Steve James going like, but you know, Colonel, what about the Major? As in Chuck Norris. He goes, oh, he's always late. We can't wait for him. Let's just take off anyway. He'll find his own way back. And then you get Chuck on the bike with handy ramps to hidden ramps to scoot over the main gates, the barricaded main gates to the airfield, and he's like strafing with his handlebar machine guns, taking out all the jeeps, fucking people, firing rockets and grenades and all sorts, and then they throw down a line for him because they're taking off. They can't stop now. And he got like, it looks like Chuck. It does. I've discussed this before, and now I have. I don't know if Chuck can ride a motorbike, but was he actually? Because he gets on, you know. We're not talking Jean-Claude Van Damme in Hard Target here. We can stand on a bike like that, ooh, with a 9mm Beretta, bang, 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 bang. Which, I love Hard Target, but fuck me, that seems ridiculous. But you do get a guy who pulls wheelies, and the rope's hanging down for the rear door of the plane, and he's actually on the bike trying to grab for it, and then finally he gets it, and like the bike just wheels off, and up he gets, and they find out that their mate's been killed, or he dies. You've got the great George Kennedy playing Father O'Malley, who issues the last rites to Peterson, played by a guy called William Wallace, believe it or not. Well, let's just play. So you've got all that pulsating action music, and you get this sort of reflective, tragic sort of remembrance music. And there's a whole thing about, obviously, the Jewish on board and the Muslims against the Jews, and the German thing, because the German stewardess was real. There is a movie based on what her experiences were in the reality of this, and she did fight against, I'm not going to betray the Jews, I'm not going to do that, and she got it as well. I've talked a lot, so my throat's gone dry, and I've run out of fucking juice. It's okay. I've reloaded. Cheers, y'all. So all the passengers have been rescued. They're hostages, I should say. They're all like reflecting, and Delta Force is there, and they've got their buddy who's died. And Father O'Malley, George Kennedy, just goes something about like, no greater grace as a man that gives up his life for his friends or whatever. And he shuts his eyes. And I love George Kennedy. He can play a tough guy, a really badass, a comedic actor. Look at the Naked Gun movies. He's brilliant. He's an all-round great actor. He's sadly gone now, of course. But in this, you feel he's like, and he shuts the Delta Force guy's eyes like that, and they're all like, the mission had been great. The follow-up mission, everything that worked. They fucking killed everybody and rescued everybody else. And then you get all this, and there's a tagline about like I'll see you when I see you, boss, which is what the dead Delta was always saying to Scott McCoy. I'll see you when I see you, boss. And he was a gung-ho fucker as well, like. When they capture oh, I do apologise, a whole bunch of these terrorists in Beirut, but there's no hostages aren't there because they're in transit. It's the road to Damascus attack sequence, and like it was like, look, not here to Lee Marvin. They're not here. So like, you know what to do. Find one that speaks it. Find one that speaks English and work on him. She goes, who speaks English here? And they're all going, and it goes like, you fucking gets him up. And he goes, right, where are the Americans? Where are the Americans? And he's just going, open your mouth. Open your mouth. And he fucking shoves it in his gob like, fucking, yeah. Where are the Americans? Take the terror back to the bastards. That's what I say. Hurt them. Put the fear of whatever they believe in. Put that fear up their arse. and then kill him. Just saying, folks, just saying. Listen to this. It's a wonderfully earnest, sincere Synclavier lament. But it will change. See, I think we get another burst of tragedy. It just builds and builds. And the plane will land on Israel, down in Israel. And everyone's like, hey, it's all flags, and hey, great, welcome back. And the Delta Force come off carrying the body of Peterson, on a stretcher. And then they're all like that. And then Lee Martin just goes like to Scott McCoy, Chuck Norris, and the two of them grin, and then you get no. Bloody hell, Alan Silvestri piled on the tragedy in this sequence, didn't he? Just when you think your heartstrings couldn't, they're already stretched to the extremities, and Silvestri's like stretching them even more. See what I mean? Like the high ends glisten, that Synclavier gleam. It's going to do it again now. Doesn't stop, does it? Oh, come on now, come on. I think we could be there. We could be at the moments of go, go, go. Yeah! Take him down. Tragedy. And then like, fuck it. Yeah. Lock and load, boys. We've got another job to do. Isn't it just such ebullient, adrenalized, fucking kick-ass carnage? You can feel it. Your heart is. I swear to God, you play this in your earphones, walking down the street, sitting in the boozer, no one can take you down. You own the place. Everyone around you is thinking like, what the hell is he listening to there? Look at him. He's beating his chest. Who does he think he is? Chuck Norris. Lee Marvin, great actor. US Marine as well. Fought in the Second World War. Was a highly decorated, very brave soldier. Got demoted and kicked out several times. Because he's a right twat as well. Drink. I know a thing or two about that. But he would cause a lot of problems. He was very violent to his own people, and his own officers as well. So he was drummed out on several occasions. But he re-enlisted and went back. Because he was a fucking... In times of conflict, you need someone like him. So when you see him, the likes of the Big Red One and oh god, got a good that he doesn't. He's believable because he's done that shit for real, And although this was his last movie, Delta Force, and it looks great in it, with a fucking blowpipe bazooka, and the two of us stand there and they take out this oncoming convoy of bastards, but he's believable. Once he dons all the combats, he's a badass. I do apologise for the coughing. Long-standing viewers know I had a cough at the start of the year, which lasted for weeks, and I haven't got a cough. I think what it is, I've been out in the sun and had a few whiskies. Maybe you could tell. And then I start talking endlessly, and your throat just goes cough, cough, cough. So I'm just drinking water here, folks. Water. did get Delta Force 2 as well, the Colombian connection. It's not as good. It's not as good at all. Delta Force is a great ensemble movie. It combines an adaptation of a real life incident, special forces action, Chuck Norris action, an ensemble cast, and soap opera and disaster movie. Shelley Winter's disaster movie. But you've got the whole thing with the segregation and selection of who we're going to keep, who we're going to let go. And it's scary stuff, especially you watch it now in today's climate. This film is still horribly relevant. And Delta Force, by the way, have proved themselves to be unparalleled excellence in commando tactics and stealth, snipership, and oh god, so many different operations they've been brilliant in. And the two bravest guys I've ever, I didn't encounter them, I've ever heard about with Delta Force snipers. I've talked about them a lot. I'm not going to talk about it right now. We'll save that for another mission music video. Is that what I call it? Mission music? Something like that. I know, I don't want to stop it either. It's just fucking awesome, isn't it? Alan Silvestri just knocked out the park with this. The rock-steady combination of Chuck Norris fighting terrorists. He did it again with Invasion USA. And everyone loves Invasion USA. I've reviewed it. I don't think it's that good a movie. I really don't. And much because it promises so much. The posters were like, oh, this is fucking World War III. Look, Chuck Norris is fighting off enormous amounts of no, it doesn't work out like that. It's very much lower key than you think. Although he still looks great. Double denim, and with his shoulder holster and two mini Uzis, he's there. Steven Seagal, Under Siege is the best that Steven Seagal could come up with. Everything else is teared. Hell, Hard to Kill is not too bad. Out for Justice has its moments, but no. And Nico. Was Out for Justice? Anyone seen Richie? Anybody seen Richie? You seen Richie? Get in that door again, yeah. Okay, it's a great scene, but fucking daft. William Forster is the big bad guy, like. Steven Seagal, you ain't nothing compared to Chuck Norris. Plus, you live in one of Putin's palaces, don't you? Yeah. You're a commie fucking sympathiser. And you're a lying twat as well. You went for the CIA, Black Ops. They deny all knowledge of you completely. Navy SEAL said, nope, he wasn't. The one true thing he did go to Japan and set up his own school of martial arts there, in the land where he learned it. He did do that, that is true. Everything else he says is absolute bullshit. Steven Seagal, who ate all the pies? It was you, wasn't it? You fat bastard. Folks, I hope we know what shall be Kilt-Man. Please, in the meantime, this ever, take down the terrorists in between time. Please keep it Kilty, keep it Celtic. And I'm going to see you all later. Chuck will never die. When we hear, oh, Chuck Norris, veteran actor and martial artist and stuntman, has died at the age of 509, it won't be true. It'd be fake. Fake news. He's never gonna die. He'll outlive the universe. The fact that the universe keeps expanding is proof that his lungs are still working. In Chuck we trust. I'm out of here.